Centurion-based Astral has two major divisions, animal feeds and poultry. Its major brands include Meadow Feeds, Earlybird and County Fair. It was unbundled from Tiger Brands in 2001. It has a market cap of 3.9 billion rand, price to earnings ratio of 11.4 and a dividend yield of 6.4%. And again, if you look at their results recently, or throwing forward to their results, they're looking at HEPS down between 75 and 85%, round about that arena.
Yes, well, they got hit and complaining with the double whammy of the imports coming from Brazil, as well as the very high grain prices. And because their business is so big, they have to import some of their grain as well. So they're not only paying South African farmers premium, they're having to import some of that grain as well. So, they're getting a double whammy on their cost side, and obviously they're having to reduce their margins to keep up with the prices in the shops of the chicken. So they got hit on both sides and under a lot of pressure at the moment.
But now we have implemented tariffs to try and curb the Brazil problem, haven't we?
Well, that's what Rob was referring to earlier, that's a long-winded process now. In the
So
old
we
days,
haven't reached resolution on it.
Yeah, the second thing is also the EU have got a free trade agreement with us, and they're also bringing in chickens, and that's going to be separate from the tariffs that they're going to impose on the Brazilian chicken import. So there still is that importing coming through Europe, which is going to take a really long time to fix.
Just clarifying, have we decided to go ahead with tariffs on the Brazilian imports? Or is that still up for debate?
I think it's still up for debate. And anyway, I mean, to say
they're challenging it. I know Brazil's coming in hard.
And I'm here to help just doesn't look like a very sustainable strategy. I think they may get something there, but this has been a long-running thing. They've always been trying to get the tariffs. Do you remember the days like a decade ago when chicken imports were becoming a problem? What the dirty people from Brazil used to do is put a sachet of MSG in the box and then say that it wasn't raw chicken, it was seasoned chicken. It's just an ongoing global game. You can't win.
Right, so let's leave the tariff discussion aside. Let's look at Astral Foods. And although we saw that climb in Rainbow, we're not seeing the same movement here on Astral.
Fell heavily on recent results that were really not good, and that's all the stuff Rob's alluding to. Meadow, which is a big feed producer and seller of feed to other parts of the agricultural industry, getting heavily hit, maize prices all over the map. The chicken business on its back foot. There was a competition-related inquiry that seems to be kind of going against them. So this is a company that's done well since it came out of Tiger. It's a great dividend distributor. Chris Scudder, the CEO, is a fabulous
Haven't
guy.
they put a pause on their dividend?
No, they haven't. They cut their dividend, but they didn't cut it as much as some people were expecting. So there is still a dividend there. So they did reduce that dividend, which is very strong in the last few years. So they reduced that dividend, but not as bad as everybody was thinking.
Do you still back it for the dividend play?
I do. I think that they will still carry on with the dividends. And at these lower levels, that yield of things going, if they keep it at the same level, is now up to about 7.5 at these lower levels. So I really like it as a dividend play. And I think that the chicken industry will survive over this period. So I think it's a good time to enter for that dividend.
Paul, do you like the dividend play here? Do you think that Rob has got a fair
I was never really big
there
on the whole agricultural and farming and chicken related industries because of the cyclicality of earnings, and I think we've had a reminder again of why that is. Having said that,
you
they've
still
now
have to feed the world.
Exactly, they've come down very heavily now. They've market's fallen out of love with them. There's some story going on in the chicken industry about brining as well. The government's going to change the rules about brining, because everybody was brining is when you blast the chicken with salty water.
I didn't want to be completely ignorant, but
I
don't think brining's in my vocabulary.
Even if it's not feeling too fresh on that day, and give it a solid blowdown with seawater, and then you send it to the store. And that sounds like a bad idea, but they've decided to regulate that you can only do that up to 8%. So 8% of your chicken can be salty water. Sounds fine. There's another problem with some of those individually quick frozen stuff going on. But all that notwithstanding, after such a long period of negativity, I think the stock, given its talented CEO, Chris Scudder, is beginning to look attractive.
Is Chris one of your friends?
No, but he is a great guy. There's interviews with him. That he goes around hiring people who he thinks have got a good twinkle in their eyes, like guys at the forecourt and the petrol station, or the golf caddies. He says, come and work for Astral.
Do you have the same glowing report for Chris Scudder at the head of Astral?
They've managed Astral very well over the last few years, and they're a good management team. And I think they'll weather the storm, and I like it.
So value managers' ears are all pricking up here. Well, they've obviously all looked at this as a value play. Rob?
I think so. At these levels, definitely.
Hot or not, Paul?
Look, I'm also hoping that maize prices in the US are going to fall, because normally when maize prices are high, people plant a lot. So yes, I'm leaning towards...
On the hope that maize prices in the US are going to fall.
Exactly.
Hey,
is that not a good
basis for any call here? Rob, hot or not on Astral?
I'm hot on Astral at these levels.